Hi everyone, and welcome to video 6 on this list, or at least in descending order. This is the 6th best film in this series. The last one I'm going to do wearing this because I'm going to do some other stuff this morning and then do some more videos later on. But these have all been shot back to back, just in case you couldn't guess already. Same location, same clothes. Not like I just sit here all day wearing this, just for the sake of it. Anyway, at number 6, there is a noticeable step up now in quality in these films. I think each one of these films is significantly better in many ways than the last. And at number 6, I have chosen a bit of a fan favourite here, a film which I've seen this film right at the top of people's lists. Even at number 1, I've also seen this film literally in 9th place as people's worst. But this was the one that I think more people have seen than the majority of the others, other than maybe the earliest ones, because this was Hammer's biggest success for Dracula films, and it was 1968's Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. That's the film I've chosen to put at number 6 on this list. This was the first film, I think, certainly of the Dracula ones, that was filmed at Pinewood Studios rather than Bray Studios, so it had a very different look. Different director, because I think it was it Roy Ward Baker who did this rather than Terence Fisher who pulled out. So different direction. In fact, there might have been a different director. I might have got that wrong. I know that it wasn't Terence Fisher who did this, but I probably got the director wrong here. Never mind. Moving on. But it had a very different look and style to the previous Dracula films. This one, I think, of all the Draculas, is the most artistic in terms of how it looks. And by that I mean that I still think this looks gorgeous. It doesn't quite have the same gorgeous gothic fairy tale style that the earlier ones had, but everything from the perspectives, the camera angles, the rooftop scenes, even the sort of like filter, which I'll get to later when Dracula's on screen, it all looks very artistic and stylish, and I think it's a great looking film. One of the things that I love about Hammer, I've just realised this perspective makes me look like I've got an absolutely massive head. Never mind, it's like I've got a huge head. I don't. That looks better than like I've got a tiny head. Never mind. So yeah, I just think this is a really, really gorgeous looking film and a very identifiable movie. It's a very, very nice looking movie. Now, this film's also got a great opener and a great ending. Where it sort of fails a bit is where it sags in the middle a little bit, and some of the continuity in casting, but I'll get to that. So this film starts off, it starts off actually during the time of Dracula Prince of Darkness. Because there's been a murder in the village, a girl's found in a bell tower, in a really great creepy opening scene that I just think was framed and shot brilliantly. And then the Monsignor of the place visits the priest. The priest in this film, I can't remember the names of half the people. The guy who played the priest was dubbed for the whole film. Don't know why, but just dubbed. They decide to go to Dracula's castle and, and end Dracula's curse. And the bit where they go to Dracula's castle is actually set a year later, because there's a really nice, after the girl's found, there's a really nice shot outside the window, and this is what I mean about how it looks, where we get rain, we get snow, we get sun. We've had a whole year go by, and it's a few seconds of sequence that is so brilliantly filmed. I just love the style of it. Really, I would have loved to have seen more Draculas in this style. It's very, very nice to look at. And so we've got a year to go, and so the Monsignor and this priest decide to go to Castle Dracula to cleanse it. Dracula's still dead, as he was from Prince of Darkness. My question, firstly, with the continuity of this film is, when did Dracula kill this girl? Because from the moment he was alive to the moment he died, the only travelling he did was in a carriage in Prince of Darkness, and it was never seen as when he killed it, unless Clove, his servant, at that time obtained her and he killed her and shoved her in the bell tower, which could have happened, but it's not a death that we saw or heard about, and so I'm not sure when it's supposed to have taken place. But anyway, a year takes place, and then the castle was cleansed. But in a moment of hilarity, the Monsignor is busy putting a crucifix, which plays a big role in the film later on, to the castle and cleansing it. and then the priest guy decides he's not going up there. He gets scared, falls over, hurts his head, and his head bleeds into the ice where Dracula is and resurrects him. How that happens, I don't know, because Dracula's still trapped in water and in ice, even if he's got the blood in him. If he lashed and got out of this ice, it turned to water and he'd sink again, which is what happened the last time. So how that takes place, don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it happens. It's a goofy moment, but it happens. Now, in terms of continuity, what I find weird here is that I'm guessing. So Dracula, the original, was 1885. Prince of Darkness, which I'll review later, is 10 years later, so 1895. So the bit in the church tower here was 1895, and then 1896 when our action takes place, so 1 year later. So Dracula's been dead for a year now. But then there's a bit later on in a cellar where we see a coffin that's got an end date of 1906. So either this is 10 years later, or someone's predicted exactly when someone's going to die in the future. Don't know, but it just throws continuity out of the way. It's one of those shots that's very fleeting and you might not notice, but it's the sort of thing that I look at. And I just thought, well, when was this film set? It's a 10-year period of time when it could have been set. Just its continuity's out the window. We've got our main character, Paul. Paul became a sort of bit of a common name. I think there's at least 3 Pauls in succession in these Dracula movies. And his girlfriend, who I can't remember her name, but she's played by Veronica Carlson, who was one of the most stunning Hammer actresses ever. She's brilliant in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. She was a great actress, and she was everything about it was amazing, mesmerising to watch. So she's a fan favourite for Hammer for sure. And so we've got this story of this Paul who's an atheist, which plays into the story. He wants to be with her, but the Monsignor, who's kind of like her father-in-law figure, he's having none of it because Paul's an atheist. And religion plays a big part in this, which is both a good and bad thing. So they've got a bit of story going on, and there's a lot of sort of rooftop romance and stuff. And Dracula, meanwhile, has controlled the priest who resurrected him into doing his business. He's not the new Clove. Now, what I don't get is, straight away, Dracula's really angry that his church has been barred by this cross and he can't get into it, so he seeks vengeance on the Monsignor and his family. It's like, how dare they do this to me? Why didn't you just get the priest to move it? Because much later on, he gets Veronica Carlson to move it, and there's no reason that the priest couldn't have moved it. He could have just chucked the crucifix away and got back in his castle. It wouldn't have been hard. I have no idea why, because that's what he tries to do later on, but with a different person. Makes no sense to me. A lot of stuff in this film makes no sense to me. There's a bit where Dracula gets staked by Paul, but because Paul, it's a good scene. It's really gory, much more blood and guts in this one than the previous ones. But there's a bit, but because Paul is an atheist, it has no effect, and the priest who's under Dracula's control is still telling telling Paul to pray, so the staking works, which it doesn't. Dracula pulls a stake out, and then he's fine again. That's never been a part of the Dracula lore before. Since it makes no difference whether you believe or not. Sunlight will kill a vampire whether you believe in God or not. It feels really weird that the belief thing was thrown in here, and because he's an atheist, these things don't work. I mean, Dracula here jumps through a window. Dracula gets set on fire. He gets staked. He has a lot of stuff done to him, and he also does a lot of things, like biting and things. I don't like the biting effects here, because we've got these weird puncture marks that look like sort of like weird pustules out of people's necks. Just seems strange. They look odd. Very prosthetic-y. There's also this weird filter effect on Dracula when he's around, which I don't like. It's the screen glows off. Some people love that. They think it's a really nice effect, but for me, it just looks weird because it's all this weird pulsating red-orange glow around the screen. It only happens in the second half of the film. Not sure what that's all about. There's also a few scenes where Dracula's. Is it this one? I'm trying to think. There's a few scenes where Dracula's in the woods. Getting people, or there's scenes in the woods where people are running around at night, but they were filmed in the day, and you can clearly see sunlight and shadows. Whereas some of they could have used some sort of filter to make them look a bit better. They're a bit weird looking, but the rest of it I actually think is pretty good. I don't like the character of Paul. He's just a bit smarmy and a bit smug, and he doesn't have much charisma. Which is why his girlfriend's sort of centre stage. The death scene here is really good. Dracula falling on that said cross, and then the blood and stuff is really impressive. Very, very haunting image of Dracula dying on the cross, and the foreshadowing it's good. When you analyse it, you've actually got Dracula and Paul having a bit of a tussle, and basically Dracula just falls off the edge of his balcony. It's weird that again Dracula here is bested in a way where he's just clumsy, he just falls off. So I don't like the fact that he falls off, very clumsy, but I do like the death scene. And like I say, whilst I've nitpicked this film, I've just tried to look at the things I don't like, because I think it's a gorgeous looking movie. It's got a great opening and closing. It's a bit slow in the middle, but the aesthetics keep it going. And there's enough of Dracula to give it some menace. Christopher Lee here does have a lot of menace. He's a very menacing Dracula in this film. He's evil, and he's in the basement a lot of the time, just being evil. So in conclusion, this is a very stylish movie. I think it's a gorgeous looking film. It's got a great opening and closing, more gory than the previous ones, decent atmosphere, but what bogs it down a bit is the lead hero's not that interesting, and there's quite a few sort of like goofy continuity moments or things that I've pointed flaws at that just bring it down a bit compared to the previous ones. I just find those things bug me more than they should, but enough to put this at number 6, which I still think this is a solid, decent Hammer Dracula film. I just think that there's 5 other ones I like more, and we start to get into some really good films, in my opinion. But this is still a solid movie and well worth your time. And actually, it's a decent one to start off with, despite the fact it's not the first. It's actually a decent movie to get into. So, yeah, number 6.